Alright, this is a Shimano SLX. We're going to grease, oil, winter maintenance. You want a piece of black electrical tape so we can tape this spool up because we got to take the spool off. Oop. A little piece of tape there. There we go. Alright. First, we're going to start off with tools we need. Q-tip, 10mm wrench, a little cup to put stuff in. This is the Shimano oil that came with the reels, so I just used that for the bearings. Some reel grease, a little Phillips head screwdriver, a little flathead screwdriver, some real fine tip tweezers, and that's about it. And first you want to start by just, visually inspecting it, see if there's any crud on there, get it cleaned off. Especially on this little guide right here in the corners. Stuff likes to get gunked up there. Move it to the other side. We get the other side over here. And you're just getting all the stuff off of there so that it travels back and forth nice and freely. Flip it around, look at it from this side here. Alright. Put you up there. Now you're going to start with the screw here. Start with the flathead. There's a little screw right here. I like using the flathead because you get a little bit more torque on it. You want to push down real hard and turn at the same time so you don't strip any heads of those screws. There we go. And she's coming off. I want to say they use a little bit of Loctite on these. Let me see. No, I don't see any. Put that. There's a little plastic piece here that holds this nut from moving around. You just pop that off. Little screwdriver, go up underneath. Gently comes off. Take that, put it in the cup there. Now what I do is I grab it like so, all with one hand, because there's a spring underneath this drag bar here. It's going to want to make everything pop out that way. So get your good old 10mm lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Lefty-loosey, we're going to loosen this up. Let's take the spool out first. Yeah, I forgot about that. Take the spool out. Put you to the side there. There's a bearing in here. I'll go ahead and grease that. Put one drop of oil here on one side. Put a drop of oil on the other side. Just one drop. That's all it needs. Close this up so we don't make a mess. There we go. And we're going to want to close that back up. Alright. Let's go ahead and break this nut off. There we go. Get it started real good. And like I said, you want to hold pressure as you're unscrewing. Take that off, put in the cup. And then I move my fingers from the arm to the actual drag star there, like so. Take the arm off, put it up there out of the way. We're not going to be using that for a bit. Put you down here. There's a spring underneath there. It's going to want to pop up, so you're going to want to hold that down like so. Get your pliers, your tweezers. There's a little plastic cover right here. See if we can get that worked up. No? There we go. Alright, so there's a little spring underneath here. Okay. We go this back and forth. Now that top part got loose. We'll take this cover off with these pliers or these tweezers here. because underneath this, I'll show you here in just a second. Take your time, take your time. You don't want anything falling all over the place. Put that to the side there, like so. Now right here, there is a little pin and a little spring. You put that in your cup so you don't lose them. And then take off your drag arm, and that's the spring I was telling you about. It's putting all that pressure on there, it's trying to pop it off. So put that spring in the cup there so you don't lose it. There's a nut here. This nut's got a recessed area there where that spring sat. So we want to back that off. And on the bottom of this nut here, there's a washer. You'll see it here in just a second. That washer's got two colored sides to it. One side is a gray side. That gray side goes to the aluminum flat side of that washer there. And then there's a bronze side. That bronze side, or copper side, is going to go towards the washer. So we'll put that back in the order that they go back on, like so. Then the next two washers, these are the two infamous washers here that they need to go back on there like that. Not flat, not like that, not like that. They need to go back on there like that. So we'll take them off. We'll lay it down the same way that it goes back on, so you don't get them mixed up that way. There we go. All right, now I'm going to change this flathead over to the Phillips. And there's two screws here and two screws down here to take them off. I'm going to stop with these top ones here. Push hard, spin at the same time. There we go. You don't want to strip these heads. Now these screws, if you notice, these screws, the thread on it is very fine. That means it's going into the metal. You'll remember that later in case you get these screws mixed up. The fine ones go into the metal and the coarse ones go into the plastic. So these are going into the metal, so they're going to have a finer course on the screw itself. And I'm just putting them the same way they came off. This one came off this top one here, this one came off that top one there. So flip it upside down, do the same thing. Push hard and turn. And you can see the course, the thread on these is a lot bigger. Let's see, can we get it there? Can you see it? I don't think you can see it, but the course on those are thicker, so that's going into the plastic. That's the longer screw. The longer screw goes here. This one's going to be shorter. Shorter screw goes back there. Like so. Put you there. All right. Now, there's some springs underneath here that's going to want to pop this up, so take your time. But very gently take the cover off, and we'll lay that to the side there. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so there's two springs here, one spring here, one spring there. And take those springs off, put them in your cup so you don't lose them. All right, we'll lay this to the side here for just a second. Go back over here. Inside this bearing, there's a metal sleeve. You want to take that out. That sleeve's got two little legs on it. Those legs go inside with the holes. Can you see it? Let's see. There you go. With the holes right there. And what that is, that's your anti-reverse. It slides on top there and they line up like that. Like so. We'll put that to the side. Next is going to be, this is your drag right here. So you're going to want to make sure you take your time because this gear and this gear touch. So I just very carefully wiggle back and forth a little bit so it comes off. There's a, came up, there's a star on the bottom. And then you got a drag washer, and then your gear. And then there's another drag washer in here. And then the cover of the top part. Let's put you way up here out of the way. There we go. All right. So these are going to be your areas that you're going to want to grease where your gears are. Right here, right here, right here, and underneath this white thing that sits on top of that gear there. So we'll go ahead and get that taken out. This comes out one whole piece there. This white piece, make sure you remember which way it came on. So we'll just lay that down here, like so. And then you're going to want to grease this gear here. Well, first you want to clean everything up. So let's get everything cleaned up real quick. These are just little pieces of shop towel that I've cut up in little small pieces. Get all the old grease off of it. Get all the old grease off of your drag stuff. Just remember which way you pick them up so you can put them back down the same way so they go back on the same way. There's grease on these. You want to make sure to get them all cleaned up. There's grease all in here. Yeah, so nasty. Get all that cleaned up real good. All right, nice and clean. And get your grease. And you only need a little bit of grease. You don't have to put a whole lot on it. You don't want things sopping with grease, but you don't also want to make sure it's not dry. So squeeze it up like a tube of toothpaste. And I put one drop here, one drop here, and then I'll put another drop here, but on the other side. And then another drop there. You can see I got 2 drops there, and then you flip it and you got 2 drops on the opposite sides there. And then you just use your fingers and you work them in. You work the greasing. You don't want a whole lot, just a little bit, you know. You don't want it. Same thing with this one here. 1, 2, flip it, put it there, put it right there, and you work it into the drag washer there. That's going to go back in here. Now, how I grease the gears is I'll put a little bit of grease on the gear, and then I'll dab it in between the areas of the gear itself. Get it all up in between the sections there. There we go. That's good to go. There we go. All right. And then we're going to want to put a little bit right here in the middle where that plastic piece sits on top of. Remember which way it came off? There we go. She's all greased, ready to go. Now, just so you know, this white piece that goes on here can only go back on here one proper way. There's little ramps on the bottom of these corners here. There's a little ramp here. There's a little ramp there that line up with these ramps here on this white piece. And when you engage and disengage, it'll raise, when you engage it or disengage the reel, it'll raise that where it'll allow it to free spin, and then it engages again. We'll put that back on there, line everything up, and she's on there right. See? When you push the button, it raises it up, and then when you engage it, it goes back down. All right. Oh, we need to take off these two screws. I almost forgot. There's a screw here and a screw here, because underneath this gear, there's a bearing that you got to oil. So let's go ahead and take those off. Take your time. Wiggle. There we go. She comes right out. Let's get this screw out of here so we don't lose it. There we go. All right. So on the bottom of here is a bearing. A drop of oil here, drop of oil there, and she's good. You want to grease this gear here. I've already greased it. This is one I've already done, but I'll do it again just to show you guys. You put it again, just put a couple dabs on the gears itself and work them in between the gears there. Do that all the way around this gear here. And you'll want to do the same thing for this gear over here. Let's get up some of this grease that we got already. There we go. You want to work it into this little gear here also. Get it all worked in there nice. There we go. Put this back on. Take your time. Just going to get this extra grease out of the way. There we go. Put it back in there. You want to take your time. Make sure that these gears, you're not damaging those gears together. They will line up. There we go. See? And then the little trick to keeping these little screws on the tips of the screwdrivers, you just get a dab, just a drop of grease there, like so, just a drop of grease, and then you take your screwdriver tip and you put just a little bit of grease on the tip of it, just a small amount. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a small amount. And then you take your screw and you put it on the tip like so, and that grease will hold her enough to put. There you go. Like so. And then you want this snug. You don't want to tighten it down so hard that you're going to strip that one out. So nice and snug, but not gorilla tight. A little dab on the tip of the screwdriver, the screw, and she stays holding there. Nice and snug, and she's good. All right, time to put the drag back together. There's a little square here that lines up with the square on the bottom of the shaft there. All right. Next goes that washer there. And then you got your, oh, you gotta grease this gear. I forgot. All right, let's go ahead and put some grease on this gear too. A little bit on there, just dab it into the gears and do that all the way around. There we go. Make sure it's all up in the gears there, like so. Get off any excess. There we go. And she's gonna nice and gently. You gotta put this one on nice and gently because you want to make sure that it doesn't damage that one down there. There we go. Make sure she spins freely. All right. Next is this cover here, which has got a curve to it. So you want that curve towards the top. I don't know if you can see it or not, but yeah, it's curved. You want that curved part going towards the top, like so. If you have it flipped, you won't get the pressure that you need on your drag. And then this little sleeve lines up with those holes. It's got the little legs on it, lines up the holes on the bottom for your anti-reverse. So we got that on. There's a bearing inside here. I'm gonna go ahead and oil. I just put one drop there, flip it upside down, another drop there, flip it 1/4 of a way, another drop there, flip it upside down again, another drop there. So basically you're just doing all 4 sides of that. You're doing one drop, one drop, one drop, one drop. While we got this off, we might as well oil. There's a bearing inside here. One drop here, one drop there, and she's good. Make sure you take your time putting this back on. The threads are very, very fine. You can cross thread it and have problems. So I pop it on, act like I'm unscrewing it. You'll kind of feel it pop and it'll seat properly. And then you start screwing it on. You just screw it on 3 or 4 turns because you still got to get your spool back in there. So we want to make sure that we can get our spool back on without any problems. Put this over here to the side. Back to this, let's go in here and get our springs. One spring goes there. One spring goes there, like so. And we're going to put our cover back on very gently. We're going to line stuff up very carefully. You don't want to ram, jam, make anything happen. It'll slide in by itself. And she's on. And I just hold a little pressure together, make sure my anti-reverse is working. Get the screws and close this back up. These are going to be the bottom ones. Those are going to be the ones that are going into the plastic. Short one goes there. Nice and snug, not too tight. You don't want to strip the heads, you don't want to strip the plastic. Nice and snug. Flip it over. I'm going to put the ones that are going into the metal back here. That one back in there. Alright, now comes the fun part. Those 2 washers, remember those washers got to go back on there. They're curved. They've got a curve to them, so they got to go back sitting like that so they get the proper pressure. So this one that's going to go back on there, that one's going on there like so. And then this one that's going back on here is going on there like that. If you look at them, you can see which way they're curved. There we go. This is that washer that's got the 2 color sides. It's got the brass or copper color side on one side and gray color side. The copper side is going to go towards those 2 washers on the bottom. And the flat side, not the side with the indentation, that indentation side is going to go towards the top. So that spring sits in it. You just get it on there. Start screwing it in, and I hold my finger there so it doesn't spin. And you get that down all the way to the bottom, get it nice and snug. Not too tight though, snug. And then we got to put the spring and stuff back in there. So it's a very, very small spring. It's a very, very, very little spring. You can't even see it. Can you see that? It's a very, very, very small spring. There's a little hole on the top of the star drag there. That spring goes inside that hole. This little pin, it's got like a little bump on the top of it, and a shaft on the bottom of it. The bump, it's going to go towards the top. That shaft part's going to go inside that spring that's in there. This is where I use my fine tip needle. There we go. And what that does is there's a bunch of little holes on the bottom of this cover here, around the edge. And as you're tightening and loosening your drag, that clicking noise that you're hearing, that's what's clicking. Is that little spring pushing that little pin against those little holes in there. So put that cover on there nice and gently. You got to put our spring back on here. Now, this nut down here is square. You got to line that square up with the inside of this here. So I just lay it on there very, very gently and spin. Until she falls down. And then I hold pressure down with my hands, my fingers like so. Get the arm. Get your arm, line your arm up. Push everything down, then you can use your arm to hold that stuff down. Get your blue cover, your blue nut. Put it on there, take your time, you don't want to cross thread it. There we go. 10 millimeter, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So, going towards the right, I'm going to tighten it up. We're going to make it snug, but not too tight. And you'll see why here in just a second. Nice and snug. This cover, there's a little, like a star on the bottom of it that lines up with that. No, you lucked out. But you're going to want to, sometimes it won't line up properly, or you'll notice there's a gap, it's not sitting flush. So what you're going to want to do is very gently just tighten it down just a little bit more until it lines up perfectly. Then you get your last screw. Screw that last one in. You're going to swap back over to that flathead so you can put a little bit more torque on it when we're done. Nice and snug, not too tight. Go ahead and put our reel back in. Our spool, sorry, not our reel, our spool. And you see we had loosened that cap, so a lot of play. I like mine where it just stops moving back and forth. Still got a little bit. And she should be good there. Tighten down the drag a little bit. Make sure everything works. We got 2 more spots to grease here. Oil. You got this worm gear back here. Put a drop here. Move it all the way over to the side. Put a drop on the other side. Put a drop in the middle. Work that back and forth a bit. And then we got 2 more bearings. One here, 1 drop in the middle. 1 drop in the middle. Work that in. Then I spin it fast, get any excess out. And that's it, we're good to go. She's good for another year, folks. Any questions you have, pop them down in the comment section. Appreciate everybody. We'll have a couple more videos here coming soon of some different models. We got the Corrado DC, the SLX DC, so we'll do some more. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Until next time.